I actually grew up in Laurel Canyon, which is a part of Los Angeles and Hollywood in particular, in the Hollywood Hills. And it was a bit of an artist community. I grew up and there were actors, musicians, screenwriters, just about every kind of creative person. And there's actually been books written about this particular era in Laurel Canyon. And I think it sort of instilled in me at a very early age the possibility that these are careers that one could do. One could choose to be an artist, and this seemed more like a normal thing than being an accountant. An accountant would have been an abnormal choice for me. Although I did get a little astray. I had gone to UC Berkeley and studied developmental economics and really enjoyed that, but found myself always wanting to get back to the art. I wasn't formally trained. I'm pretty much self-taught, but through willpower and hopefully some natural talent, I've kind of developed that into a career. I started out early doing mostly advertising art and illustration, and I did a lot of movie posters. I did Conan, Revenge of the Nerds. I also did a Eddie Murphy movie, Coming to America. I did the poster for that, a lot of logos for movies. I got a chance to do some video stuff for Disney, and that turned into a huge portion of the work that I was doing. For many years, I had several guys working for me, and we were doing probably 90% of all of Disney video covers were done by me. So that was an incredible experience because my art was everywhere in the world. I mean, you could go to Madagascar and somebody would have my art in their house. When I was on my honeymoon, we were in France, in Paris, and on the Champs-Élysées, there's a Disney store, and there was like all the walls had my artwork everywhere. And you know, I was a young artist at that time, and I just was like, wow, here I am on the Champs-Élysées with my art. So that was a wonderful experience because your art was just in every home in America and worldwide. And I did some really major covers like Lion King. When I did Lion King, it was the largest video sales of all time at that time. So I had the cover that was in millions and millions of homes. So that was a great experience, and learned a lot from Disney just about quality and control. And people view it as children's art, but really it has all the same elements as fine art, which is composition, motion, color, mood, and those kinds of things. So I really applied that into the fine art. I think that my influences are really a wide range of a lot of different artists. Growing up, when I was a teenager, I loved comic book art, and I loved Spider-Man and Daredevil, and the physicality and the motion of a lot of the Marvel. Most of the Marvel artists at the time did this great dramatic motion with the way they drew the human figure. And then later I got kind of into Frank Frazetta and these Dungeon and Dragon book covers and that kind of thing. And Maxfield Parrish, absolutely big influence because just the beauty and grace of the type of paintings he did. Recently, more in what I style my artwork now, probably Caravaggio, which is he's a Renaissance artist, maybe a little less known than, say, somebody like Da Vinci or Michelangelo, but for my money, the best painter of Renaissance art. Dramatic lighting, which I really like because I think that lighting creates drama and mood like nothing else in a piece, more than even facial expressions. In terms of what I use for technique, I start by going to Europe and I photograph a lot of architecture, some of the really major buildings in Europe, and some maybe not so familiar to people. And I also have gone to the Middle East. I've been to Turkey. I've also been to Greece and photographed architecture there. I'll come back and usually photograph models where I'm either consciously thinking there's a particular picture where I will create the exact same lighting as a shot that I took of, say, in Versailles, in a hallway in Versailles, and I'll match that lighting. Or other times I'll just look through some shots that I've done, and I've done some shots of some models, and I'll kind of meld the two together. And that's pretty much the technique in terms of concepting the pieces. After that, it's pretty much just very standard oil painting technique. It's basically canvas, oil, and a paintbrush. And there's really nothing else to it. And I love that aspect and the physicality of painting and that experience. I think the goal of most artists really is that opportunity to share your art, because the art in a vacuum means nothing. I mean, ultimately, yes, we express something of ourselves, and I don't know who said it, but there's a quote that every painting by an artist is a self-portrait, because it ultimately expresses an aspect of yourself. But if people aren't hanging it in their homes and it sits in your home, it has no meaning, because it's that ability to connect and convey your emotions and allow somebody else to use their imagination and find emotion in a piece of art that is what we live for. It's a weird selfish and sharing act at the same time, because you love to paint for yourself and then you love to see people respond to it. I think what I try to convey in art is I'm always fascinated by sort of the dichotomy of life. There's bitter and there's sweet, there's powerful and there's weak. And I think what's really interesting, and the reason I use architecture a lot of my art, is architecture has a very monumental, imposing, almost never diminishing power to it. And I really love to sort of juxtapose that with the fragility of the human figure, and often partially clothed, because that makes you even more fragile. I create that sort of power and fragility that is human nature. Within that, I think I'm also interested in actually showing, just by physically how the body moves, that it can project emotion. In almost all my paintings, you see particular emotions that are expressed. It's not expressed by the face, it's expressed by just the human positions and the physicality of the way the body moves. And it's very important to me that people can see emotion in the paintings. I recently had a woman at an art show come to me and say that what she loved about my paintings is that in each painting, especially since I mostly paint women, is that she felt that I was depicting all the range of emotions that women feel. There's some of my paintings that experience joy and express joy, others a lot of vulnerability and pain and power. These kinds of aspects to my art really is what I sort of seek, is that emotional experience that somebody can feel when they look at my work. I really want for the viewer to have an emotional experience when they view my art, and that's what I'm really looking for, is that conveying of emotional experience.